Sometimes you really wonder how much worse capitalism can make things. Now, we've all heard by now about the fourth meal that's been introduced. There was a Young Turks video on that, and a lot of people have been talking about it, and it was innovated by this brand and marketing company called Yum. Now, this is what it says according to the Salon.com report. The campaign is called Fourth Meal and was originally launched in a series of Taco Bell spots telling kids that everyone is a fourth mealer. Some just don't know it yet. Now, new fourth meal ads are once again popping up all over television, insisting that sometimes the best dinner is after dinner. Now, this fourth meal concept is not new. It was originally introduced in 2006, but it's notable today that despite the overwhelming concern there's been for people's health, particularly in the realm of obesity, it is clearly not going away. Or is anyone even thinking, maybe we shouldn't do this? Now, here's what Salon.com thinks the problem is. Major food corporations face a quandary. They are under Wall Street's constant profit growth pressure, but they can't substantially raise product prices because the food market is so cost sensitive. Therefore, to entice us to spend even more on eating, Big Food has lately been trying to extend the biological limits of consumption by challenging one of the most basic structures of American culture, the traditional meal schedule. Now, much of this is true. Now, what they're saying there really is true. You couldn't directly blame Wall Street, as Wall Street is not the actual generator of such problems. They're a huge symptom of it and can certainly exacerbate it in its current form. But it is not what causes this. What causes this is the profit motive, the constant drive to have to expand consumption. We've seen this over and over again with many different things. The capitalist mode of production must have an increase in profits and sales in order to maintain itself. That is the entire capitalist system, so any individual industry should not be seen as being any different. However, we've seen this in pretty much every industry thus far. That's why commodities have all of a sudden become cheap, breakable things. Anything you bought in the 50s was virtually indestructible. It was made out of steel, and it would last you forever. Hell, I had a television that was bought before I was born, and to some degree, it can actually still run. That television is now more than 30 years old, and it can still operate. A television purchased now will not operate in 30 years. And there's a very specific reason for that, is to keep up consumption. The rate of consumption and destruction in order to maintain profits. This is a very old, tried and truism of the capitalist system, no matter how much certain economists or certain political ideologies try to deny it. The faster consumption goes, the greater profits can be generated. And it has to continue. If there is a slump in profits, in other words, if you didn't have to buy televisions anymore, or in the larger section of society, didn't have to buy them anymore, sales would drop, and the business would start to go under. You have to keep up consumption in order for the system to work. That's why commodities are now so cheap and breakable. That's why they don't last, so you have to buy new ones. Yeah, you can go to Walmart and buy a toaster for 10 bucks. But the thing's only going to last you like 3 or 4 months, and then you have to go buy another one. I've got a toaster that's 15 years old, and it must have cost, 30 bucks, 40 bucks at the time? Because it's supposed to break. Because in that amount of time, I haven't had to buy another one. I haven't had to keep up the cycle of consumption because it wasn't necessary, because I got a quality product. We can see this. We can see how cheaply made things are today from when we were a kid, depending on how old you are. I mean, the cycle of consumption has to be kept up. That's why portion sizes got so ridiculously big. For all kinds of meals. It doesn't even matter where you go. The portion sizes get bigger because you have to buy more. That's why the price went up along with it. It's all necessary out of maintaining the profit structure of capitalism. It's not even profits. It's just to maintain the system itself. And that's what Salon.com is ignoring. To them, it's just greed. It's just these bankers that are pushing greed on us. Because that's one of the great things about liberal democratic society. Never actually criticize capitalism. It's always the fault of some bad apple that's causing the problem. Never actually take a look at the superstructure of the system itself. Don't actually investigate the very real material core of the system as it exists. It is always some banker did something bad. It's a bad apple. The police killed somebody, but it was just a bad apple, and continue to ignore all the police that are killed every year unjustly by the police without going in and taking a look at what the purpose of the police is, who they serve, the laws that they are required to enforce. Don't actually examine the superstructure of the entire system. Only focus on a few bad apple cops who break the law. In other words, don't investigate why these things happen. Now, of course, Salon isn't going to do that any more than any bourgeois publication is going to do, for the simple reason they're bourgeois, and they have an interest in maintaining the capitalist system. They can make superficial criticisms of it, but they won't actually go in and take a look at the real system itself. Now, if this really wasn't being done by a profit motive driven system, then we would resort to the pure intelligent scientific position of taking 6 small meals during the day, and we would be encouraged to do that. And that would become a part of the food, what's it called? I think it's a food pyramid now. It's not the old triangle one. It's like a 3-dimensional pyramid that now covers exercise as well. Because we'd be going by the rational scientific way of maintaining health and security for human life. But we don't do that because that's what Marx called the anarchy of production. It's all about getting the money regardless of the negative side effects that it causes. I mean, Salon.com, you can't expect them to put forth a real analysis of why this is happening because it's not their job. Their job is to deflect criticism away from the inherent nature of the capitalist system itself to a few bad apples.